We're going to catch up with the Dubbo Region Mayor, Matthew Dickerson, here this morning. And there's a few things on the agenda, and I know Matt's just settling in. Hello, Matt. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Good to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you too. Keep your distance. I might be a bit fluey, though.
No, don't tell me that.
No,
You've been going so well lately.
I know. I woke up and it's like, this morning is just not coming together, so I'm going to make you talk most of it.
Fair enough.
Big news yesterday. Squadron Energy is going to work with Dubbo Regional Council to ensure local water security. Who the heck is Squadron Energy for a start? And tell us about the water security.
So Squadron Energy is a company that's owned by Twiggy Forrest. So most people would be familiar with Twiggy, and he's decided that renewable projects are something that he would like to be involved with, and he sees a good future there. So Squadron Energy's been out there doing projects across the nation, and they've got a couple of big projects in our area, one at Oongla and one at Spices Creek. So the one at Oongla has got all the approvals. They've started the roadworks down there. So it's basically, if you're going across from Wellington to Mudgee, where you get to the jail, just before there's a turn off to the right, and that's down that area where that wind farm will be. One of the things that I've been very impressed with Squadron, we go into negotiations with various organisations, various renewables, about our community benefits fund and a whole range of things that we want to do. And it's a tough negotiation sometimes. Squadron, though, have actually been very good. We've asked for 1.5%, they've agreed to 1.5%. We have discussions about different things, and they've been very agreeable, which I think is fantastic. And they've got a big focus on long-term future for the community. Yesterday's announcement, and I said it yesterday, and I'll probably say it a lot of times, I think it was the most exciting announcement involving the RES since the announcement of the RES on the 28th of July 2020. That's obviously what started this all off. But yesterday was a great example of council working with a proponent for mutual benefit. A problem they had was they came to us and they said, we need water for our construction. So they need water to mix with the concrete, they need water for dust suppression during the process of construction. Where can we get water from? Our water licenses are expensive. So we talked about that process, and then we said, we've got about up to 4 gigalitres of water that come out of our sewage treatment plant each year. What we do with that mainly is we send that off to Greengrove, to our farm. So council owns a farm, not many people know that. We own a farm for one reason only, and that's to take the treated effluent to use in growing crops out there. So that's fine, but not the absolute best use of it. We don't really need to own a farm. So in the end, what we've done is we've done a PPP, public-private partnership. In all my time on council, we've never done a PPP. PPPs are always seen as very difficult. You've got to get permission from the Office of Local Government. We've got that permission. This one was a fairly easy one to go through because it was very hard to see any other company that would need to do this. Squadron are going to pay for the construction of a facility at our sewage treatment plant to treat the treated effluent to a higher standard. A facility that will basically treat water, about 700 megalitres of water per year. They don't need 700 megs, they'll need a fair chunk of that during construction. They might need, say, 300, maybe 400 megs during construction. That might go on for maybe a maximum of 5 years. After that, Dubbo Regional Council will be left with a facility that will be able to have that treated effluent used in other parts of Dubbo. Not drinking water, we're not talking about drinking water, we're talking about using it for our fields, our sporting grounds, for example, using it in our green spaces. Areas at the moment that we do use potable water for, so if we're not using potable water for those areas, that gives us more potable water. So the whole concept there is the mutual benefit, if you like. They'll get the construction water they need. They're giving $3.6 million, that'll be the maximum amount they'll give us, but that's the maximum we can see the construction will take. And then we, forevermore, will have a facility that's going to be able to give us treated effluent at a higher standard.
Who maintains that new facility afterwards? That's then council.
So that'll be something that we will maintain on an ongoing basis. But again, in terms of the cost for us to treat water out of that facility versus the cost for us to treat water out of our potable water facility, out of our water treatment plant, it's obviously dearer to treat it to a level of potable water. So it's obviously cheaper water for us, so that's an ongoing cost saving for us. So if we've got to treat less potable water, we're actually saving money there on an ongoing basis. So we'll run it, we'll pay for the running of it, but again, we're gaining a cost benefit there.
Okay, so take a step back. So during their project, Squadron Energy, if something happens to the facility, does council maintain that or do they maintain that?
Do you mean something breaks down the facility?
Something breaks down or something happens there, which being a new facility, it shouldn't, but what if?
Well, it depends on what level that's at. If it's something where the company that actually constructs that, if you like, a warranty claim, so something breaks there on a warranty claim, that would be that company that comes back. If you go long term, after the facility's up and running, and after Squadron's used the water and we're using it and running it, normal maintenance would be our responsibility. And again, I stress the fact that water we're getting out of this is a cost saving. So not only are we getting the facility built by Squadron, but water coming out of this is a cost saving over water coming out of our water treatment plant.
I mean, that's got to be a benefit. I've heard of agreements like this with other councils, not in particular water or with Squadron, but that is the community benefit at the end. That's what you're explaining today.
One of the things that I talk about a lot, Brett, is if we get our job right as council, we'll get this great pulse of construction activity, lots of money coming to our economy while construction's happening. But if we do our job right as council, we will gain long-term benefits for our community out of being a part of this renewable energy zone. And this is the type of thing that I'm talking about. Community benefit funds are great, and if the soccer team gets some new soccer shirts for their team, that's lovely. But what I want, and council wants, long-term benefits, and that's what we're talking about here. This is a long-term benefit. You've heard me talk before about a concept that we're working on called the REACT Centre, the Renewable Energy Awareness and Career Training Centre, that we're looking to construct, or maybe not council, someone to construct down near Wellington. And so already we've been given $150,000 by 3 of the proponents, including Squadron as one of those, to do a full feasibility study on that. And again, that's the sort of thing that my vision for that, Brett, is that we'll have 100,000 visitors a year through that tourism part of that REACT Centre. Imagine that in Wellington's economy. 100,000 visitors a year would fundamentally change the economy. That's the sort of long-term benefit I'm talking about.
So this project is real-world benefit for the Dubbo region, which is fantastic to see. At the end of it, Squadron go away, you know, do their thing. You guys maintain. That's it from Squadron. They have no input after the project.
They're paying for the construction of the facility. That's their input. Is here's $3.6 million,
Yep.
and we're still running the construction, so we can do it to our standards, because we've got to get permission from the state government to be able to use any of that treated effluent. It has to be treated to a high enough standard to be able to put over our aquifer. So we can't just say, oh, you'll treat it to a standard that's right for your construction and don't care about us. So because we're in control of it, we'll make sure that, and we'll go through a range of tests and a range of approvals from the state government to make sure that water will be able to be put over the aquifer. So you'll remember before there was talk about taking some treated effluent from our sewage treatment plant and using it to water our fields. The state government said you can't do that because the treated effluent coming out of the sewage treatment plant is not at a high enough quality to go over the aquifer. So we'll be in control of that, but again, the funding for that comes from Squadron Energy.
So the checks and balances remain in place for the project, the development, and of course the usage of the water. That's good to hear. Now, you said to me off air that they've actually got an office out at Wellington. I didn't know that.
So we had 2, well, it only just opened, which is probably why you're not aware of it
Yeah,
yet,
right.
but we had 2 projects in 2 days, and the CEO and the chairman were both in town for these announcements. So effectively in Wellington now, some people say to me, what are we seeing in Wellington? We're getting these renewable energy projects. What's the average person seeing in Wellington? Well, they opened an office in Wellington, and to show their commitment, if you like, to the area, because they'll be there for a long time, they've opened an office and 10 people employed in that office. And so here's an office, it's on the highway, it's opposite the old police station where the museum is now, so it's opposite there. So effectively you've got an office there, Squadron branding on it there, but 10 people are now working in there. Those 10 people need to buy coffees, need to have somewhere to sleep at night, need to buy their food from the supermarket. They're all contributing to the economy that are Squadron employees. So there's an office here in Dubbo as well, but typically there's only about 2 employed here in the Dubbo office because most of the activity is down at the Wellington end, not down around the Dubbo end.
Matt, I'm out of time, but you've also moved next Thursday's ordinary meeting to a different venue. Just quickly, under a minute, if you can tell me, are you expecting a large crowd? Because the Dubbo Regional Livestock is on the agenda.
Correct. At the last meeting when it wasn't on the agenda, we had a number of people come along to speak about that. So we've moved it to the theatre. We want to make sure everyone can fit in there. We've got 500 seats there, and that'll be at the normal time, 5:30 p.m. on Thursday, but go to the Dubbo Regional Theatre and Convention Centre rather than going to the council chambers. It's just next door anyway. If you turn to the council chambers and go, no one's here, where is everyone? Then just walk next door to where the theatre is. So yes, we're expecting a large number of people, which is fantastic. I like when there's a few people in the crowd.
Larger than before?
I don't know. I think we probably had 100 come along before. It may well be larger because this is finally where we're making the decision. But we thought 500 seats, that should be enough.
Okay, thank you.